The only people who don't have problems are dead. So it's the toughest thing to do, but it starts with having some kind of daily mantra. Praying's a good thing. Meditating, counting your blessings, waking up and going to bed, not with your phone or scrolling to see how many likes you have, to see if the outside artificial world is validating you, but maybe waking up before you grab your phone and have 10 things that you feel, 5, 3, 1, that you're grateful for. And then before you go to bed, rather than check your emails or your, the same thing, ask yourself what you're excited about or what you're grateful for. Those little things that cost nothing other than minutes, sometimes seconds, and no money, have the biggest impact on people's lives.
Hello and welcome to Leave the Hope podcast here at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. I'm here with Dr. Howard Cohn, and he's going to fill you in about what he does and who he is, and then we'll talk about the topic of hope.
First of all, I love the topic of hope, so thanks for having me here.
You're welcome.
And super thrilled to be part of this. Super great. I'm excited for this message and where it's going and what you're doing. So
thank you.
It's going to help a lot of people. So
good.
Super good. So Doctor of Chiropractic, run a natural healthcare center in Southern California in Costa Mesa. A lot of things going on there. It's basically the one-stop doc. We call it the Cohn Health Institute.
Okay.
We work with people physically, nutritionally, emotionally, chiropractors, naturopaths, body workers, acupuncture, all these different healing modalities, wellness, IPs, anything you think of to help people move from where they're at in their health to where they'd like to be. So similarly to you, always looking at what's new, what's next, what can actually bridge the gap, not just with where people are at with their health, but their education, to understand that there's nothing more important than their health. Yeah. So nutrition's been a big part too. I mean, I've made nutritional products, developed nutritional products, launching my own brand, Cohn Nutrition, very soon. And then have our podcast, or not our podcast, our summit called the Biostacking Summit, showcasing doctors who do next level kinds of therapies and help the world know that there's hope, that they don't always need to go with what the one doctor said or, and to show them that there are things that they didn't know they didn't know.
Obviously, you're giving hope to lots of different patients and clients and variety of places, not only in LA, probably around the world with your institutes and your facilities and your supplements. But one question I always ask, because everyone has different unique experiences, what does hope mean to them personally?
What does hope mean? Hope is knowing that the situation that they're in now does not have to be the situation that they stay in, that there's more, better, different, always out there. And it can happen for them in an instant. It doesn't have to take forever. I love the word hope. We were kidding around before. I have a house in a town called Hope, Idaho, believe it or not. And as a chiropractor, I remember seeing a chiropractor lecture at actually Cal Jam. Okay. And they talked about what we really sell for people is hope, is a different drug. It's called Hopium.
Yeah.
Yes.
So hopefully we can bring more Hopium with this episode. In your life. And everyone that has ever interviewed and discussed hope has always been somewhat similar story, where it's about something better on the other side. It's about something that's greater than themselves. It's about having faith that at the unknown, but also knowing that's the right purpose or movement going forward to something better for them. So so that I love that.
Yeah, I mean, people are suffering. A lot of things happening. The world is a really interesting place at this time, and depending on what you plug into is going to depend on how your day goes. And if you're watching the news or you're scrolling all day and your life is not about finding the beauty or the good in other people and things and situations, or when things look like they're bad or hopeless, that there's always a lesson in it or a gift. And as you know, doctor comes from the Latin word docere, which means to teach, or goes to show people that, their body can do wondrous things, and if they allow it. And the end of the day, the most important thing is for people to get their power back. And I think, as you probably see, when people become ill or they have health issues, it's because they somewhere along the way gave their power up to somebody or something. And that's when it all started to go south.
Which brings me to my next question. It's kind of good segue on that is I like to have my guests give a specific time or a trial in their life to help people relate to that, where they had to rely on a lot of hope when things didn't look best the greatest for them. So can you think of an example that you had?
Yeah, probably a lot.
I know just as a
I don't know
business owner,
where you're going with this. I'm just kidding.
I know that
Yeah.
just as a business owner, there's a heck of a lot of those usually, but
Yeah, I think it's all over the place about a lot of different things. I think this last 4 years has been an interesting thing. And I think it was a test of faith in doing the right thing. And I know obviously that's a lot different for a lot of people, and a lot of people have uh, awakened to different things, even if they made other choices years ago. But, how you do anything is how you do everything, they say. One had to choose that, to love thy neighbor in spite. And um, I think Dr. George Goodhart, who's a founder of applied kinesiology, had a statement where he said, he would say, you don't have to like everybody, but you got to love them. And I saw the statement once that said, love everyone. I'll figure it out. I'll sort them out later.
yeah,
God, so I think having faith and hope that this is temporary, even though it looked dark, like a very dark time. And thank God we had the faith and the hope to know that humanity was going to win.
loving the person for where they're at and whatever situation they're in, because everyone has from different experiences, and we don't know what those experiences of guilt, shame, fear, trauma, whatever that comes from. I think that's super important because the last episode I was just doing, I was talking about how you got to give blessings to people, you got to receive blessings for yourself, but also the power of words matter, and they can build or destroy. And so you do have to love your neighbor, and it's hard a lot of times.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, so that's a good lesson, because so as people are loving their neighbors more, as they're having faith that everything's going to be okay, how do they spread more hope in their own life as well as in the community?
I think here's,
43.
okay, you're still a baby. So there was like a little movement for a hot minute where people did what we called random acts of kindness. And I think how one can spread hope is actually look, pay attention, is to look for people that are not high on their life, and then do something. Sometimes smile at somebody, not just say hello, not just to compliment something about somebody who looks like they're having the most miserable day. That could change the whole trajectory of their life and their day. So for a lot of people, it's really doing those kinds of things. And really, as good as it makes the other person feel, it makes the person doing it even feel better if they allow themselves.
So you mentioned in your definition of hope is looking for something better in the future. How does one maintain the hope or the betterment of the future that they're looking forward to, but also ground it into the area that they're at?
Well, I mean, in our profession, we have a philosophy that we're founded in. Well, although kids get out of school today, I don't know if they know. But that philosophy was ADIO, and there used to be a school with that in its title, meaning above, down, inside out. So hopefully we all are, or most of us have an opportunity and the blessing to know that there's probably something bigger than us in the universe. Call it God, call it whatever you will. And that helps us have faith that we can take the next step. The doing this now is to take the next step. The most important thing I think people can do is to execute, is to do something. If you're walking, the saying is, if you're walking through hell, just don't look down. Down, you're just going to look like it's You're going to focus on where you're at rather than where you can be. And yet there's an appreciation for where we're at, because we're at a moment in time is going to be gone one day. And then one day we're going to run out of time, wishing we even had this shitty moment.
Yeah.
So pain and discomfort and things not working out the way that we want is a sign of being alive. The only people who don't have problems are dead. So it's the toughest thing to do, but it starts with having some kind of daily mantra. Praying's a good thing, meditating, counting your blessings, waking up and going to bed, not with your phone or scrolling to see how many likes you have, to see if the outside artificial world is validating you, but maybe waking up before you grab your phone and have 10 things that you feel, even 5, 3, 1 that you're grateful for. And then before you go to bed, rather than check your emails or the same thing, ask yourself what you're excited about or what you're grateful for. Those little things that cost nothing other than minutes, sometimes seconds, and no money, uh, uh, have the biggest impact on people's lives.
And one of the interviews that I did a few weeks ago, someone was describing that a tree, just like if there's a tree growing, it's not worried about the outside world. It's literally trying to be, how do we be the biggest, strongest, durable tree to withstand all storms and be as healthy as possible and grow as big as I can? And I think, and he was using the example that we should kind of think like a tree. And then he asked me if trees have hope. And I said, I have to ask somebody that's smarter than me about if plants or trees actually have hope. I go, I don't know. They might not have problems because they just look to being the biggest, strongest, most resilient, but they're always just focused on how to do that and be as prosperous as possible. I think that, like you said, having those gratitude moments, having the moments where even when things aren't looking good, that you can probably find something that's positive in those moments. And hopefully you listen. If you don't, hopefully this podcast can help you bring more hope and positivity into your life as well.
Interesting about the tree is that the tree will always also move to the light. And as you see as a tree, it bends, it moves to the light. Or your plant, if you bring a plant by a windowsill, it always bends towards the light. So if you want to live like the tree, which I highly recommend, you move away from the dark and move towards the light. Like BJ Palmer, who's on my shirt, said, it's a lot easier to light a candle.
Which is funny because that's quotes come up probably 3 or 4 times as I'm interviewing people.
Oh, really?
Well, throughout the podcast.
Message of hope.
It is. Is there anything else you'd like to add about hope or inspiration that we haven't discussed?
Sure. I think, since we're both health practitioners, I think health is a big thing to talk about. And I think we don't appreciate it until it's gone. And we spend so much of a declining life, unless you're fortunate enough to take a breath and that's it, in hopeless situations that put us under, let's say, crisis medical care that could have been prevented with different knowledge and tools about how we move our body, how we eat, how we supplement, how we think. I think all these things determine the outcome, but they also determine how well we experience everyday life to begin with. And there's always hope, no matter what. And there's always somebody that can help, just like there's always somebody that has it worse. I mean, sometimes it's not, hope comes indirect. Hope comes from the philosophy of, I used to be upset I had no shoes till I met a man with me, and it defaults us to gratitude if we pay attention, that everything we feel hopeless about, everything we're bitching about, somebody's praying for to have in their life. If feel like my knee pain is hopeless, and yet there's somebody else that just lost their leg, they would trade everything to have your knee pain, because even though it's painful, it's a leg, and they have an opportunity. And even the legless person probably hopes that the technology of supportive artificial legs
Yeah.
continues to improve so that they can be their little avatar and move around. So there's always hope.
So, how do people plug into you, learn more about you, and being healthy and get health and hope into their lives?
Well, you can always find me on all these social medias, which are at stop DRHOWARDCOHN. There's the Cohn Health Institute, COHN, healthinstitute.com, and to see the other doctors and people we showcase and brands on the biostacking with an S, biostacking summit.com. And that's what it's all about. Just like you, I think we're in a blessed world at a blessed time. The fact that you sit down to do this podcast when you could be doing 20 other things is, speaks volumes that you're here to help.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So, yeah, we hope you enjoy this episode and put more hope into your life. And we'll bring you another episode of the Believe the Hope podcast. Thank you.
Bye, guys.